Welcome to Explore Cyber Podcast, which is essentially the lore of experienced cyber exploiters and exploits of today. My name is Sam Lyhin, and today we talk with Vlad Grankovsky, who has more than 11 years of experience in AI and neuroscience. So he knows specifically how human brain works and how machine brain works. I will ask him question how to use AI to break humans. Let's explore together. Could AI catch business logic and find vulnerabilities in business logic?
So yeah, it depends on the context, right? You have to have an well, basically the idea is that AI is supposedly doing whatever we can do. So if we can do something as people, then theoretically, maybe not right now, but maybe in the future, AI will also be able to do that, and it will be able to do it faster than us. So I'm not sure about whether it can do it right now, but yes, potentially, I don't see any reason why not. And one of the things is how would you do that? So you would want to have agent that is doing some pen testing basically. But then the question is, what kind of tools do you give to this agent in order to make sure that it's not fucking something up on its own, right? In order to make sure that the agent is not, breaking your own system or making your own system vulnerable. So that's a separate question. But yeah, potentially AI can, of course, be used for in pen testing and finding the broken access vulnerabilities.
That's interesting because what I actually do when I do pen testing is a lot of tries and errors. I try, I see the error, and I adopt my approach. Can AI do the same thing as successfully as people do?
Right now, it depends, right? In the future, for sure, yes. So, ideally, what you want to do is you want to have a prompt with an explanation of how exactly you want to um, approach a certain thing. So you would basically have an instruction sheet for yourself that would say that, okay, first we try this in case if you do get this and you try this, try to somehow make it a system. If you can make it a system, then it's easier to explain it to the AI, right? But um, yeah, for sure, for now, it's a bit complicated, right? Because you're very flexible. You're looking at things and it's very specific. Every situation is very specific right now. So it would be quite difficult for an AI right now. But yeah, the goal, right, is you make it faster and a lot of different approaches at the same time.
Well, so we are growing, and AI grows with us. Uh,
Mm.
and most of the time, when I try to find bugs, I use my intuition, so my
Mm.
sense. How do I feel if there could be a bug or not? Can AI do something like that?
People have came up with a few things similar to that in theorem proving. So
Mhm.
there was this AI, I think, from Google recently that achieved a superhuman or almost superhuman ability. Basically, it beat almost all of the golden prize winners from some international math Olympiad.
Oh,
And so the way they do that is they also kind of use an intuition in different way, but it's something like that. You can look it up. It's interesting. I don't remember all of the details, but the idea is that it's not a pure LLM, right? It's not the pure LLM like ChatGPT. You just give it a problem and it's trying to, bullshit some solutions. Actually, trying to use an intuition of something similar to LLM to start producing a proof, and then having a opinion about how it's going, whether it's going well or not. And then if it's going well, then it will keep going and keep trying to follow after the same approach. And if it's not feeling like it's going well, then it would revert back to the original problem and try to approach it from a different direction. So this is probably the closest thing that I think. Um, so you have to look it up. I think that yeah, that this method that they're using for this method limpet problem is probably the most reasonable, the most
yeah, but
related.
it's fun and it's crazy to think that we actually can formalize mathematically intuition if we can do that. But because LLM is trained so hard on data, maybe
Yeah,
there is some kind of
no,
intuition.
it's not LLM. It's something different. It's basically some kind of system, some model. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but somehow it's telling how you're feeling, whether you're feeling okay with whatever you're at right now or not. So it's similar to the it's similar. It's a bit similar to what people think of chess. Okay, so the way
Mhm.
that chess works is whenever you're playing chess with somebody and you look at your position on the chessboard and you can immediately tell whether you're doing well or not. So
Mhm.
you have some kind of heuristics inside of the brain that allows you to very quickly estimate whether you're doing well or not without really trying to calculate all of the possible combinations of what's going to happen next.
Well, you just calculate materials. If you have more materials than your opponent, then you're doing
Yeah, I
well.
mean, this is the simplest heuristic. Okay, this is the simplest possible heuristic. Yes, that's true, right? You have a certain weight for each chess figure, and then you sum them up, and then you see who has a higher number, right? But then it's not good enough for anything more serious because they can have different positions, like where they're located. And then the people who are really good at chess, they can very quickly tell whether you're in a good position or not by looking at the chessboard, and they have this kind of a heuristics built in the brain and on the intuition level.
Yeah, I can understand what you're talking about, and I'm trying to see how LLM can formalize that without losing this. It's interesting. I recently seen that Claude system built a code, and then after the next iteration, it said, "Oh, this code is vulnerable. Let me fix it." And then after it fixed, it said again, "This code is vulnerable. Let me fix it." Maybe because it could self-adapt. Maybe with more, I don't know, computation powers or something, we can get it self-corrected, like to bigger and bigger degree. What are the main things that stop the systems to be self-corrective right now? It's like, is it lack of energy?
I think it's more about the ability of a human to actually go through the code and try to sort of simulate what's going on in the brain by possibly even using a separate, sheet of paper that you can use. A little bit similar to this thinking, right? This thinking LLM, the one that's creating the thinking tokens before it's producing the final token. So um, the the difference between the LLMs and how the people think is basically the people have this two systems of thinking, fast and slow, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
what the LLMs normally do is they sort of work on an autopilot. They generate response without really going very deeply, without really thinking too hard. They just sort of generate whatever is on their mind based on whatever text has been earlier. So instead of that, if we had some ability, if they had some ability to basically really go through each line of code and try to somehow make some mental notes maybe next to each line, they would go like, okay, this line is doing this line is doing this. So it's basically not just read through the code and try to remember the whole thing like they do, but maybe try to simplify some pieces and have some mental notes of what's going on, some structure inside of a separate maybe thinking token part or whatever. Yeah, so I think the main problem is to summarize is what I'm trying to say is they're like not thoughtful enough. They're trying to do, even if they're in the thinking mode, they're still on the autopilot and they're not thoughtful enough.
Oh, so they have all the biases that people have because they use they use fast thinking,
Yeah,
so they
it's
do biases.
about the biases. It's also about the fact that fast thinking is not when you are actually thinking things through very deeply.
But we have deep research and all this thing that have like deep in the name.
No, the word deep, the word deep in the name is just, it's the same word coincidentally, but it means a different thing. When you see something that has a deep in the name, it typically means it is something that comes from the deep learning, and deep learning means the neural network has multiple layers, and that's why it's called deep because it has many layers.
Okay.
Um, Separate thing.
One thing where LLMs got really huge success is in social engineering attacks. They create amazing phishing emails, and I'm wondering if LLMs would be able to read human line by line to understand me and you and to exploit our weaknesses legally, maybe legally to sell things us, or maybe illegally to sell something bad or to get our accesses. Uh, what are the main factors that would play the key role in this? Do you think this is possible?
I'm sure it's possible. First of all, I'm not sure if you have seen. I've seen a few days ago the ChatGPT started showing me the affiliate links.
No,
You see
I
that?
never, I didn't see.
Recently, ChatGPT started giving me affiliate links to the products.
I feel.
Something
Oh,
like the links that they make the commission from.
oh, like a sales
They
machine.
didn't they didn't try too hard to sell it to me. They just like, oh, by the way, here are the products related.
So one day I could say, "Hey, ChatGPT, help me. I don't know what to do with this," and he could say, "The only thing you should do is to buy this amazing product."
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
it's all on the sort of conscience and responsibility of the people who create the system. So if it's a ChatGPT, then we only rely on the responsibility and conscience of OpenAI, right? But it's a big company that's whose main goal is to make money, so you can't really rely on the responsibility and consciousness of those guys, right?
we can rely on them in their desire to sell good things
And
to us.
one thing that you could imagine is you could have a somehow you could have a separate LLM on your own device, um, working at the same time, and it's reading everything that's on the screen, and then somehow it would be like, oh, this text seems to be manipulative. Text seems to be trying to manipulate you. Be careful. And this is one thing that I can imagine.
One thing that we do as hackers all the time, we break passwords. One technique that we use is we analyze all the messaging, how person send messages or create some text. If the person creates articles, that's good to get all the words that this person could use, and then we mix these words to create possible list of passwords, and it works very well. So I'm thinking if LLMs could be used to get some information about people and to understand them deeply and to predict their actions, and maybe some people with LLMs could use it, because if LLM has information about me as much as Facebook has information about me, and Facebook certainly has LLM, how they can predict can they predict what I'm gonna do, and can regular people like me and you, like me, but basically, if I want to hack somebody legally, of course, can I use LLMs to predict other person's behavior, to send them phishing links or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure yes, but I mean, for the password thing, we have to probably ideally we would like to train your own LLM if you have a data set.
Mhm.
So if you can have your hands on the data set where you have information about the person and his password, and it's actually a very easy thing to do to train this kind of LLM. I don't know if are there a lot of data sets like this, because most of the time when the personal information gets leaked, it's a hash of the password, right? It's not the password plain text.
It is a hash of password, but if we have the list of passwords, we can try to brute force this list of passwords on hashes. And because we know which words person uses, we can do. And there's a question of modern anthropology that we can use during this research, because we need to build an image of human if we want to break its security systems. Probably some people already use some models of human in computer games or in chat applications. Um, Maybe you can advise on how do machines see human in terms of to build the image of that, and how do they represent it?
What do you think about this? How do you imagine machines see a human?
Because any machine should have the representation of their customer. Do they have the representation, especially chat applications? Yeah, especially if they are working over voice and they need to deliver some kind of value to their like, let's say sale agents on many companies do this. Many companies have sales agents. How do technology works behind this to make the robot understand what human is there and how to treat them well? Do they have an object like, this is a human, this is a customer, it consists of A, B, C, and D?
No, it doesn't have the knob, but like, what is the context again? So are
Like
you, do you,
like 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 in object-oriented programming, we could have
yeah,
class,
no.
person, we have methods and object. How do sales agents of LLM, how do they see humans? What kinds
You
of
mean the,
parameters?
you mean not the actual sales agents, but like hypothetical sales agents that will probably come out in the future when the sales calls that are done are not done by humans anymore, but are done by the AI. Is that what
They
you're
are
talking
already
about?
done. They are already done. People already uh, LLMs already represent salespeople, at least here in the United States. Probably
Mhm.
in other contexts, it's also viable. Yeah, and it's interesting to think how it would be developed in.
I've tried speaking to some of them that are customer support.
Mhm,
I haven't really heard of any ones of them that are sales.
mhm.
I've heard of the ones that are customer support, but not sales yet. I'm not sure. Do you have any like examples of what do they sell, and have you tried speaking to any of them?
Well, I've seen passive sales, so passive assessment. So they do not sell anything, but they say we have this, and this option. And
Oh, okay. Basically, kind of like an informational call.
yeah, it's like sales support.
Okay, I see. Well, okay, I mean, okay, look, so regarding your question, how do they represent a human? They don't represent a human, right? What they do is they do the autocomplete, basically. Like every LLM that there is, the only thing that it does, it's an autocomplete of the text. Basically, there is a text that says, here's a conversation between a sales agent and a human or something along the line. It doesn't have to be this particular text. And then there will be some tokens for turn taking, some tokens that say that, okay, this is the text that is pronounced by a person, and this is a text that's pronounced by a robot. And then you have a history of those, and then whenever you need to generate a new message, basically a next thing that the robot is about to say, you say that, okay, here's a special token that signals LLM that the following thing is going to be pronounced by a robot, and then it's starting to generate thing, which basically means autocomplete the text. Basically, there is a piece of text that contains all the actual text plus the special tokens, and then what LLM does, it just continues the text. Because the only thing that LLM does is continues the text, doesn't do anything else. Now, how does it do it? It's doing it based on the statistical training from the train set. So you have a bunch of trains. For example, okay, how it works, right? You have a lot of text on the internet where somebody says, "Hey, would you like to come to our office and try this new amazing product and stuff like that?" So if you have a text that starts, "Hey, would you like to come to our," and then like nothing, then it will probably put the word office. Why? Because there is a lot of examples of something like that happening on the internet. It doesn't have to be exactly word to word sequence because it can be something a bit more complicated. And like by statistical um, analysis, I mean not exactly the two word pairs. What I mean is something that's for likely to be as a next word in the text, something that's likely going to be as a next word in the text based on the rest of the text that has seen before.
Oh,
So
that's
that's
wonderful. So when LLMs, when robots will start fighting humans, essentially, they will not see us as objects. They only have their own missions, and they autocomplete what they like need to do, but they do not hunt of specific.
they don't know anything about the people and the other people or whatever they don't know anything about it. I mean, it depends on your definition of the word "know," of course. Okay, it's like it's a bit philosophical. I don't want to go deep into that, but the idea is that it's basically generating the next token based on the previous text plus all the trains that it has seen before plus some kind of fine tuning. So one of the examples that you could see is if you take a base model, which means not the one that's fine-tuned on the instruction where you tell LLM what you want it to do, like ChatGPT, but the base one, which is pure autocomplete, and you say things like, let's say, what is the capital of France? Then if you let it autocomplete the thing, that will probably generate the next sentence is going to be, what is the capital of Germany? What is the capital of Russia? What is the capital of Norway?
Hmm?
Why? Because there is a lot of text on the internet that's a quiz and a lot of questions like that. Now, another example would be, um, let's say there are two people talking, there is a conversation, and there is a text that says, person one says, "Hey, what is your favorite color?" And then person B, and then we are asking LLM to generate something. Then what's going to happen is LLM is generating this probability of tokens in order to pick the next token, basically the next word. And because it just happens that most of the people have their favorite color is blue,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of also a social engineering thing that you can use.
Okay.
Most of the people, social, like 30 something percent of the people have their favorite color blue, and then the next one is like smaller than, like not majority of people as in more than 50%, but the top favorite color is blue. So LLM is going to be like, okay, let's calculate the probability of all of the possible next tokens. What is the probability of token dinosaur? Okay, it's about 0. Because to the question, what is the next color? It's very unlikely to say dinosaur because it has nothing to do with it. Now, it will be probably a color. Now, let's see all the probabilities for all of the colors. And the thing is that those probabilities that are going to be calculated by an LLM are going to be if there is no other context, which is we don't have any other information in the text about those two people. If there is no other information about those two people, then the probability of those tokens is going to be roughly matching the probability of people actually having their favorite colors as they admitted on the internet or anywhere on the text that was in the train set.
Yeah, yeah. That's so it's not spontaneous. It's all
It's based on the
yeah.
probability of the train set. Now, if you give it some extra context, for example, if you say, "Oh, this person is suicidal and he
Mhm.
likes to listen to death metal or whatever," then and you also say what is the next color, then it's going to be biased by this information. So it's going to be not the default probability of you know everybody on the internet, but it's going to be biased based on this prior context.
Probably
Of
not blue but black.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be biased. And then now, if you also specify the gender, it may modify the probability distribution a bit. If you modify the age or whatever other things, it's going to be changing the probability distribution, which is interesting. Now, the thing is that when you do the fine tuning, which is this ChatGPT thing, then they try to fine tune this kind of questions, because fine tuning is basically a process where you give a bunch of questions and a bunch of either preferable answers or sometimes pairs of good and bad answers to
Mhm.
fine tune LLM, right? And then what they want to do is they want an LLM to answer that, hey, as an AI model trained by an OpenAI, I don't have a preference for colors. So they want this kind of answer, right? So usually ChatGPT will give this answer. Why? Because in the train set for fine tuning of the base model, they have a bunch of examples where people ask personal questions, and then the answer the LLM gives is the example answer in the train set that LLM should give is this thing that says, "Hey, as an AI model trained by an OpenAI, I don't have the preference." So that's what they do, right? But by default, if they don't have this kind of special bias that they intentionally create, of like not
Unlikely
having a
to
preference,
people.
yeah.
Unlikely to people. This is our strength. So if they rebel
Yeah, so
against
this is
us,
basically to answer the question, how does an LLM see a human? It doesn't see a human, it just sees a piece of text and is trying to auto-complete it based on the statistical distribution of how likely the next word is going to happen in a similar situation somewhere else on the internet.
and sorry for asking the philosophical question. It was absolutely required because of the next question, which is like the core. It's very important for cybersecurity. Do you think artificial intelligence could be used in training and educational programs? When we want people to get trained in cybersecurity or get trained in math or something like that, can AI find flaws, what people do wrong, and then suggest them the educational program to do things right? Is this the future?
It's a bit complicated because a lot of times when people do something wrong in a specific flow, this flow is also present in the train set, and the AI itself will do the same fallacy. It will
Mhm.
also do the same flow of doing something wrong, and that's why we have a lot of not. That's not the only reason why, but that's one of the reasons why when we ask ChatGPT to generate some code, and it's quite often generates a wrong code, or vulnerable code, or the code is like not optimal in some way. So um, it's a bit difficult to do that, but yeah, one of the things that it could uh, try to do is we could probably try to create a prompt that's trying to find any kind of fallacy in whatever the person does and trying to point it out to the person. And um, yeah, like whenever you write code, and then the LLM would say that, hey, by the way, do you know that here you might have a potential problem? So if we have an LLM that's being constantly asked to analyze um, things that the person says, um, whether they have a potential problem or not. So that's one of the things. Educational wise, I mean, it's a bit tricky, right? Of course, you can have an agent that you can speak to, and you can also have some educational agent that has an agenda of like what is the sequence of how to educate somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Basically like a teacher that has a certain textbook, and then you go through the textbook in a certain order. But to have a very specific understanding of some pattern of how this particular person is doing something wrong, it might be quite complicated. So yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to be very easy. But instead of that, what I see is easier to do is whenever the person is already doing something, trying to catch any kind of problems or mistakes that the person is doing. That's easier.
Well, that's easier if the person is doing already something and we observe and we have some
You can even
standards.
pen testing, for example, if you're doing the pen testing yourself, right, and then
Mm-hmm.
an LLM is observing whatever you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
LLM would say that, hey, by the way, I noticed that this might be a problem or something. Or it's also applicable to things like sales, because what I see is I don't see the AI being sales agents just yet, maybe in the future, but not yet. But what I do see is AI being a sort of a copilot for a human sales agents.
Well, I see movies in LinkedIn when people send me a specific recording that is made specifically for me, that specifically sells me something, and I like these movies. I don't like myself liking these movies, there is no global ethics, right? That's why
Yeah,
we cannot say that ChatGPT will
I
do it.
I
But
see that it's, like when you're on a sales calls and you're trying to sell some high value product for a high price, and there is a person on the other end, and if they already have a sales team of people who are really good at selling whatever they sell, then what I would imagine happening is when they train the next person, the company that sells something, when they train the next salesman, what they would do is they would not replace the human with an AI completely just yet, maybe just as an experiment, but what they would do rather than that is they would rather have an AI that is assisting in training the next sales agent. And how it works is basically imagine that the sales agent is having a call with you right now, and then in front of him there is a screen, and on the screen, there is a text that's automatically generated in real time. And it says, hey, by the way, please say this. It looks like this person is into this. Please say this or something. It's like basically suggesting the sales agent what he or she would say in this situation to optimize the probability of the sale in its own opinion. And then it's up to the person to read this and either follow whatever they say or not.
thank you. That's a great answer. And the reason I'm wondering about that, one of the reasons, they say it's not possible to embed ethics into LLM, but it's actually possible because we see differences in ethics in DeepSeek and in ChatGPT. At least some political agenda is different. So probably we can make the model that will be biased to do something. And yes, as you said, we probably can teach people to follow the process if we already know how the good process should look like.
I'm sure that it's possible to also create a model that's doing some bad things. So it's a bit tricky, right? Because there is there is nothing that would prevent this from happening. Like there are a bunch of the really good open source model that somebody can use to fine tune to do some bad things. So once again, similarly to my answer to another question, of somebody trying to manipulate you into buying something on the screen. Yeah, the only way to deal with that is if the device of the like for now we already have something, right? Like when we go to some website that is known to be a phishing website, your browser will tell you that, hey, this website is a known phishing website.
Well, yes and no, because we
Not
bypass
always, right?
this.
Not every time. I mean, I'm just saying that there is this mechanism, it already exists. Of course, I don't know, they will, it's difficult to catch up with all of the new phishing websites, etc. It's complicated. I mean, I'm just saying that in theory, this mechanism exists.
I can tell you the website they cannot fall down. Drive.google.com. You just Google Drive and it works.
Right. Anyways, my point here is that similarly to the way how your browser tells you that, okay, this is a phishing website, be very careful with doing whatever. Or when you go to the inspect tool in the console and it says, please don't paste any code that you get from anywhere, because it's well known that hackers are trying to steal your personal information by telling you to copy and paste some random stuff into this panel. If you really understand what you're doing, please type, yes, I understand. I'm not an idiot or something like that, right? So uh, similar to this, I imagine that in the future there will be browsers that have some sort of an LLM built in that will tell you that, okay, this is likely a trick. This is likely somebody trying to scam you out of money or whatever. This is likely some, I don't know, romance scam, or this is a phishing or whatever. So of course there will be also people who try to fight this, right? But that's how it always is.
Well, now it works that the things catch uncommon things. So if you see that some uncommon process starts working on your operation system, because the reason we cannot just catch idiots because it is that a lot of people use very custom, very sophisticated setups for their infrastructure, and it's hard to distinguish them from people who just don't know how to do it right, and we cannot blame them because these things work. So it's hard to say it's a bad thing because
Just like a warning message. So like you open a web page or email, or even you have a phone call with somebody or whatever, basically any kind of information that is on your device in any way. And then you get a warning message. It says, hey, this looks suspicious. Be careful. If you want to continue, sure, go ahead, but be careful and make sure you know what you're doing. Don't send your personal information or money to people it might be suspicious. So yeah, that's how I see it. Of course, it's similar how to like when you go to a website with a broken certificate, right? The browser will say, "Hey, this certificate is broken. If you really want to go ahead, then click Advanced, and then click I understand, and click a few more times I understand. Then you can see the website if you really need to. But otherwise, just be aware that something is fishy here."
the thing is that but people click the things all the time, but large language models and AI can create so deep personalized experience that feels so good. I'm thinking of what kind of advancement could be there because it already works.
Well, I mean,
What could make it?
all of those scams that are based on somebody basically trying to catfish people, right, in different ways.
Yeah,
All of
kind
this
of.
is for sure going to be maybe already is being automated by an AI, and that's kind of scary. Um,
We now
so
have deepfakes as well, which are good enough as for now. Do you think they would be even more accessible to people with time? So everybody can do a deepfake. Is there any way how to prevent people from being
only way to
tricked?
prevent this from happening, I mean, you can't prevent people from using technology because technology is out there and it's going to be better. Now, the only way to prevent this from happening is once again having a system on the user's device that's going to tell, hey, this looks like an AI generated image. Hey, this looks like a deepfake. Hey, this looks like a um, this image has been altered by an AI. It's not a real photo. So yeah, I don't see any other way.
Interesting, because this is something that we as a security people try to fight with, because we don't like when some controls are doing their control on the client-side device. This is what exactly happens with mobile devices, and it creates feeling of inflexibility and lack of control of what happens. But maybe this is the only way how we can defend in the field where technology defends better than people.
It's kind of similar to imagine that you go to Instagram and there is some post that's fake news and it's known fake news, and there will be this thing that says, "Hey, this is a fake news. Do you want to see?" Then you click on it. And then if you want to read why this is fake news, and you can read on the link or whatever. So this is useful, right? It's a
Yeah.
good thing because people are mindlessly scrolling Instagram. They see this thing or some sensitive information or like whatever, and then they see that and they are like, oh, okay, I got it. So it's like the same thing, right? Basically, imagine that uh you fall victim to some romance scam from a dating app. You meet somebody on a dating app, and then the person is sending you photos, and that like those photos, they are stolen from the internet. And then your device would say, "Hey, this photo is from this and this. It's a known photo that's used in the catfishing scams. The original photo is from like 2005." And you'll be like, "Okay,
Yeah,
thanks."
the second statement would work better, like, because people would believe that the person sends an old photo.
Yeah, and then there will be like a link where you can find the original or whatever, and it's kind of like just give you an extra information. It's not like somebody's trying to take over your device or doing something arbitrary. It's just a way to give you to make you well informed.
Well, thank you for making us much more well informed today, and I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Nice talking.
Nice time. Let's draw some conclusions. First of all, massive attacks on people would grow, unfortunately. They would grow in quantity and quality because AI can improve anything that is scalable and has standards and has low cost. So yes, we will receive more and more spam messages and calls, and this kind of calls and messages would have better and better quality to trick us to be hacked. Good news is that specific attacks on specific person is something that AI will not really help because AI is not that good at deep thinking. So AI cannot analyze a lot of information and be sure that this kind of attack will work on some specific person and there is no mistake. This is something that probably not gonna happen, but some parts of this job is possible to improve, of course, using deepfakes and other stuff. So yes, but the full AI-driven attack on a specific person, it's hard. So probably there would be still a person who uses AI for these kinds of attacks. Now, speaking of defense, it's much easier than all kinds of attacks because defense against AI is based on standards, and AI is pretty much good at standards. So it can analyze everything that happens on your device to see if it matches standards. The downside, you need to expose all of your data to some vendor, and you probably don't want to do that. But this is the only way how technology can help us to defeat this kind of things, and probably this is what actually be implemented. Another way, of course, would be to just get smarter to find what exploits, who tries to exploit you and how. But this is, we probably need both. We need to get some good education, and we need to do defensive measures. Fortunately, AI for defense could be also used to educate people so people know how phishing attack works and be prepared. So thank you for taking your time. I hope you enjoyed how we explore this